Hey there, Normie Gardner here, and today we're going to talk about another atheist fairy tale. Now, if you're an atheist, please don't be insulted by the term atheist fairy tales. Just calm down, guys, okay? What I mean by atheist fairy tales is this. There are certain ideas in our culture that stem out of materialism. They often show up in science fiction tropes, and they are these peculiar ideas that we all assume are rational and reasonable, but really are not. And they are really just fairy tales. And I can debunk them using only science and common sense. Just common sense, just science, just easily provable things. Today's atheist fairy tale is robots. Robots. Now, we all know what the word robot means, right? Because when we were kids, we saw Star Wars, we saw C-3PO, we saw R2-D2, we saw aliens, we saw, Data in Star Trek. We all know what robots are. The idea is that at some point in the future, we're going to figure out how to make self-aware beings who can talk to us, just like people, who have free will, who have autonomy, and they're going to be created just out of computers. Computers will suddenly become, quote, so smart that they understand us. They'll achieve free will and self-awareness. This is an idea that is people take really seriously. And for a long time, I didn't understand how could you really take this seriously? Because, of course, in real life, robots are the things that you see making, the dog walking, the things that make the cars. They're just machines. They're obviously just machines doing a task. The Roomba. They're not self-aware, they're just more complicated machines. That's all they are. So, but the idea is, okay, but eventually we're gonna make a machine, a robot that's so that's so powerful that it will suddenly wake up and realize, oh my gosh, I am I, and I am self-aware, and it's gonna happen. We don't know how, but it's gonna happen. Now we're seeing now already how strange this idea is. This is a new idea. It didn't come, people didn't think about this idea until very recently in human history, like the last couple hundred years. People thinking that, we'll be able to make our own self-aware people with free will. Probably the first robot story is Frankenstein. You might not think that, but Frankenstein is basically a flesh robot. Dr. Frankenstein makes a body out of human flesh, and then all of a sudden we zap it with electricity, and it becomes self-aware. It becomes alive. It's alive, That's really the first robot. The whole idea is that we will make a self-aware being with free will. Doesn't matter whether the being is made of flesh or out of computers, it's still the same idea. Now, I think a lot of the problem here comes from the simple fact that people don't know what a computer is. Okay? So I'm just going to tell you. The best way of understanding this is asking yourself, what's the difference between a pocket calculator and your laptop? What's the difference? The difference is power. That's it. Both are computers. Both are calculators. Both are machines that make calculations. Arithmetic, math, adding and subtracting, plus and minus. And that's all they do. Now you might say, oh, Normie, but my laptop can show me pictures and go onto the internet and do all sorts of things. No, what your computer can do is calculate things. And then engineers come in and they figure out a way of using math to create a picture, or using math to create a video game, or it's all based on math. It's all based on calculations. Inside of every computer is a processor that makes calculations. It's a tool. It's a machine. It makes calculations. That's all it does. Everything a computer does, and everything the internet does, and everything the software does is all based on math. You understand? It's all math. There's no difference between a PC and a calculator and an abacus except for power. That's the only difference. Okay? Keep that in mind. Now that you know that, why would you think that a calculator can suddenly become self-aware? Or that a computer, if you just keep on making it more and more powerful and doing more and more calculations at a quicker rate, that suddenly, poof, free will emerge? Why would you think that? Come on, guys. Why? Now you say, oh, well, we don't know what will happen. I know what will happen. It'll become more powerful. It'll do calculations faster. That's what will happen. It's like saying that, you know, if we make a car faster and faster, it'll suddenly turn into a human being. No, it won't. Just because a human being runs and a car runs doesn't mean that a faster car will suddenly become self-aware. Just because a computer does calculations and a human being can do calculations, can do sums in their head, you know, I can't very well, but other people can, doesn't mean that there's any correlation between doing calculations and being aware of yourself and having free will. The two things are totally separate. All right? Now, there is something called the Turing test made by Dr. Alan Turing that he hypothesized that eventually you'll make a computer that can imitate human nature so well that you won't be able to tell whether it's a computer or a person, and that's called the Turing test, right? Now, I don't believe there ever will be a computer that can pass a Turing test, but even if there was, even if I'm wrong, the end result there would not be a self-aware being. The end result would be a puppet that is so sophisticated that it can fool you. It's still not self-aware. A computer that passes the Turing test and is able to fool everyone into thinking this is a real person, still not a real person. It's just still a puppet. Just like a magician who, like, you know, makes a sword pass through a body or makes something disappear. He didn't really make the thing disappear. He's just fooling you. It's just well, what's the difference? And like, well, is it really? No, stop. Okay, either it is or it isn't. There is either a being with free will or there is not a being with free will. There is no difference between the two. There's a big difference between the two. This is just common sense. Guys, robots will never be self-aware. The singularity will never happen. Why do I know this? Because I know that free will is not based on if statements and calculations and software and processing. Because that's a crazy idea. There's no reason to think that. We gotta go back to the same thing. The only reason you would think that is that you think that free will and self-awareness come from material things. They do not. Okay? They don't. Because atoms can't think. Because molecules are not self-aware. Why would you think that they were? That's a crazy idea. So, sorry guys, but there will never be any robots. That data is forever going to be fiction. C-3PO and R2-D2 will never be real. Okay? The stuff that free will and self-awareness are made of is not in computers. It just isn't. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.